What's a small, seemingly insignificant decision you made that ended up having a massive impact on your life? Story 1. Parked my little car, didn't pause to check messages on my phone. Got out, walked 20 seconds away, and turned around at the massive metal screeching crunch of a massive SUV going about 40 miles per hour over the limit, plowing into the back corner of my car. It completely concertinaed it against a street lamp/power pole. The driver was completely fine, but I looked in the window of my car and there was absolutely no longer a me-sized space between the driver's seat and steering wheel. I'm fairly sure I escaped death by some matter of oblivious seconds there. Story 2. Decided to try stand-up comedy at a coffee shop open mic while high on the drugs they give you after taking your wisdom teeth out when I was 17. Still doing it 13 years later, responsible for easily 2/3 of the friends I've made as an adult. Story 3. Signing up to work for free on a paleontology project. My first class for my geology major, ended up blindly signing up after my professor announced the position. I worked on it for 4 years and now I have a fossil species named after me resulting from the project and my work. It also opened up my academic career and led to my internship at a major national history museum. Story 4. My partner was cheating on me, so I broke up with them and downloaded a dating app. I met a tattoo artist, we started dating, and I got into tattooing a year later. Turns out they were cheating on me too. But I got a kick-ass job out of it. That was years ago and I'm still tattooing. Story 5. I decided to walk to the mall on a Sunday because there were no buses running. On the way, met my wife of 32 years waiting in a bus stop for a bus that wasn't coming. Story 6. Joining martial arts. I was divorced in 2020. It was incredibly difficult on my kids and I. My son, for at the time, showed signs of aggression and issues at daycare. I tried to find something for him to get exercise and discipline, so I chose the local dojo. There was a parent/child class in the evening and I wanted to be there to support my son, so I started going to class with him. I had no plans to stay. But, I fell in love. I loved the people and the learning and the feeling I got from walking through the doors. I liked how my body started to feel strong again and how my head wasn't cloudy from the depression. My son stopped going after 6 months, but I stayed. I have been practicing Japanese Jiu-Jitsu self-defense for almost 3 years. I am an advanced green belt and I love every second of it. I feel so powerful and confident. Practicing a combat sport as a 38F was something I never thought I could add to my life journey, but I know it is something I will practice for a long time to come. Story 7. In the mid-90s I drove a shitty old 4Runner that had a phone installed in it. Long story short, it used to be some sort of company car. Phone didn't work, never did. Yet one day it rang, seriously shocked me. It was my mother, who hoped it might work because some friend of hers' daughter lived in the same town as me and needed a ride because she'd just been in a car accident. I said, sure, and went and picked this random lady up. I'd been up for days at a rave and no clue why I agreed to do this on my way home. I stunk, was still slightly high and was tired as hell. I've now been married to that random lady for 24 years and have 4 kids together. Story 8. Took the wrong train to a minimal pay job in a new city, which I didn't want, but I had to have at the time. Asked a stranger for directions because my phone's GPS was still a little off. By coincidence, he was traveling in the same way. Together, we took a train ride and became film geeks. He was an aspiring filmmaker at the very beginning of his dreams, while I was just a movie enthusiast with no plans to break into the industry or pursue schooling beyond high school. Eventually, we became housemates and collaborators. About 2 years ago, we sold our first movie to IFC. If you enjoy the video, smash that like button, leave a comment if you have stories to share and subscribe. It's free and it will help us greatly. Our team wishes you have a great day. Story 9. I was in my mid-20s and living in a very unhappy household. Met a girl and we struck up a good friendship. Next thing you know, she's asking me to move across the country. I said yes, and before you know, I learned all those valuable lessons about being an adult that I just knew I wouldn't have learned if I stayed where I was. The change was so complete that when I decided to move back to my hometown, I come across people from my high school from time to time, people I would have considered friends back then, and they are unable to recognize me. Like we could be face to face and they'll see a complete stranger. If I don't make the first move, it's like we're two strangers in this enclosed space, and we both go about our business. Moving with that girl across the country was definitely a critical moment in my life. It sparked a change in me that still boggles my mind to this day. The funniest thing about it all is that the entire friendship came together over something so simple as a table coaster. Honestly, I think OP is right. After you enter in your 20s, moving alone or with a roommate can teach you a lot about life and how to become more responsible. For me, it sure worked. Story 10. Once I made the decision to start keeping a daily journal. At first, it seemed like a small thing, but in the end, it had a tremendous impact on my life. Writing down my thoughts and experiences daily became an integral part of my life. It brought structure to my days and helped me better understand myself. Daily journaling allowed me to identify patterns in my actions, navigate through my feelings, and even find solutions to some problems. What initially seemed like a small decision to keep a journal turned into a powerful tool for self-reflection and personal growth. Story 11. Taking care of things as they come up whenever possible. Greatly reduced my stress from procrastination. I got some fries at McDonald's. It took longer than usual and I missed my bus. It was a wet, slushy, snowy night and I had to walk 2 hours to get home. Cars sprayed me with muck, my feet were freezing, I was sobbing like a lunatic because I was so mad at myself. It propelled me to enroll in college literally the next day. That was my all-time low point, brought on by French fries. Story 12. Contributing the full 10% of my paychecks to the employee share purchase plan, from day one. You don't even notice the slightly smaller paycheck, but a decade or two later, you have a nest egg well into the 6 figures. Story 13. Forgiving an ex-boyfriend for cheating on me. We resumed our relationship as friends. He'd gotten married while we were separated, and he was absolutely seminal, a brilliant friend when I moved to NYC. He got me a place to live, introduced friends to me, and even got me hired into a high-profile job I never would have gotten on my own. Forgive, my friends, and the floodgates will open. It's truly inspiring to hear this story of forgiveness and the positive turn it took in your life. Your ability to forgive your ex-boyfriend not only showcases your strength, but also reflects the transformative power of forgiveness. Cheers to the positive floodgates that open for you. Story 14. Every Friday at my high school, every student would finish earlier than usual, 1 to 3 periods earlier depending on your timetable. It was a senior-only school in Australia, which meant only grades/year 11 and 12 students, so our timetables were more unique. Usually I'd go to the shopping center/mall with a group of friends, eat, watch a movie, and do the usual teenage stuff. But one time a couple friends wanted to go to the gym of the aquatic center across the road where we had a special discount, $5 casual entry for our school. I never really worked out, only played sports casually, and honestly had little interest in it, but somehow I tagged along. We literally just messed around on various machines for like 2 hours, but somehow I kept going with 1 or 2 other friends. 14 years later I've been training on and off ever since. Studied a bachelor's of exercise and sport science. Competed in powerlifting, strongman, and predominantly Olympic weightlifting. Worked in the fitness industry for the past 8 years. Met my girlfriend of 4 years at a gym I used to work at. But most of all, it helped tremendously with my self-confidence, ambition, and depression. I really didn't have much self-belief, any drive, or much work ethic prior. Story 15. Staying with my mom and brother at my aunt's place in Germany. Decided to stay at her main house with her and her husband, because the new house she just bought, that we were going to stay at, had some allergen that completely messed up my brother's allergies. An old fridge started an electrical fire overnight. The house didn't burn down because all the windows were closed, so we probably wouldn't have burned to death, but we may well have died of smoke inhalation. Thank you, allergies. Story 16. I went to prison for robbery. I did it. I was an addict. After almost 5 years in, at a work center, I got a write-up which would make me stay in for a few months longer. The warden offered a deal: if I would paint a mural at a local high school of their mascot, they'd forgive the write-up. I had always been good at drawing, they knew that, which is why they asked, but had never done a mural. I figured out how to scale it up in my head and did it. I got out about 6 months later and made it my career. I'm now married, happy, and fully booked until summer of next year for work, owning my own business. In September, I will have been out for 10 years. I also hid my initials in the high school mascot mural. Story 17. Keep saying this, but I trained myself to only sleep on my back. It happened after a short hospital stay where I was basically forced to. When I got home, I realized I slept less yet woke up more energized and without things like kinks in my neck. It also makes making the bed easier. For whatever reason, I also remember my dreams much more clearly. Story 18. Decided on a whim to buy one of those Ancestry.com tests. One of my guy friends had purchased one and found out he was part Scandinavian, part Norwegian, etc. He was loving it and I thought it was pretty neat, so I decided to buy one too. When I was checking out, there was a DNA test add-on, and I thought, what the hell, let's get the whole kit and caboodle. My results came back, and not only did I find out I am mostly Scottish/German, but I also found out I have the BRCA1 gene variant, the breast cancer gene. After more testing, we discovered my sister, brother, and father also have it. Guess I'll never know for sure, but finding out very well could have ended up saving one of our lives. Story 19. Picked up a newspaper while picking up milk one night on the way home. Found a job posting for telecom sales that I applied to. Been in the industry for 25 years now and raised a family halfway across the country. I built a career on a random job posting in a newspaper I got for free because the store was throwing them out for the night. Story 20. When I was 5, my grandpa asked me, "Do you want to fix the mailbox or plant the rosebush first?" I picked the rosebush. A few minutes later, a car ran straight into the mailbox going 30. Not sure all the other details related to said event, but my grandpa still talks about how 5-year-old me saved his life. Story 21. Looking out the front door when I smelled wood smoke at night. I was studying with the window open. It's common to have fires in the fall/winter in my area, so it's very common to smell smoke drifting from a burn pile or someone's hearth. Something seemed different to me. I told my mom. She said not to worry, and it was just someone's fireplace. Went to the front door, and the moon was blood red. The hill and the horizon was glowing. The glow was a massive wildfire about to crest the hill. My dad was dead asleep, Mom was watching TV. They both freaked out. We started packing before the power went out, firefighters came, and everything went nuts. I got my cats in their carriers, wasn't allowed to get my fish out of their tank. We were near the front of the caravan of cars driving away, and were able to escape through a vineyard before the roads were blocked. Another time I caught a glimpse of something like flashing orange lights across the street. Thought, that's weird and doesn't look like car taillights. Upon investigation, 'twas yet another, but very small, fire from an electrical pole fault. Story 22. Mentioned to a coworker once I needed to get a side job to pay off debt. Once just having conversation, we sold insurance by phone. My coworker got me in touch with her husband who ran a video production department for videography team in my town. Ended up working there on the side for 9 years, recording some of the coolest events, including national televised events. The company ended up being Comcast NBC. When I say I have recorded thousands of events between concerts, sporting events, pre-Olympic events, you name it. Anyhow, one simple convo turned to that, with zero experience or education in that field. Fantastic money and got me through a lot in that time. Regardless, taught me to take more risk and just give things a try. Hearing these stories, I can say that I saw how many things can change in a few seconds, or by making decisions out of nowhere. We've reached the end of the video. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. It helps us greatly. If you also have a story to share, leave a comment. Our team wishes you a wonderful day and see you next time.